Okay, people, I have 5 matches for you for today. Pretty much our first off, we were going over like one of my newer decks, being my Labrynth 10th deck, which is different from my regular Labrynth, which is mostly more like I'm missing a couple of stuff, so I haven't completed it yet. Versus some other deck profiles I saw of it, so it's mostly me about it, while also going towards my regular Traptrix deck. Not much changed though, but I'm working on mostly trying to fix my playsets in my Runic deck and my Labrynth. So let's get straight into that. First thing is that my Traptrix deck hasn't changed much. The only thing I might just do soon is probably see what I can get rid of that's redacted. What's going on in the second deck? My Labrynth Temp. Overall, I'm pretty much missing some cards, but I also had some different cards when I was going over this video when I was actually playing this originally, so it could be different. Overall, you see Absolute Jackknife mostly so you can banish this card from the grave, so you want it sent to the grave somehow. By milling, it makes it look top 3, so you can see inside the trap. Next up, we got the Quick Plays, which is a much. Next up, we got the Labrynth Searchers for adding Labrynth cards. The levels 8, those two go into our no trap cards can't be activated in response to monster effects, to response traps. Big Geki, Labrynth, Probability, Positive Strivance, Lightning Storm. I'm mostly running some couple more cards since I was mostly trying to do a restriction that day. Labrynth Field Spell, I have 3 since I don't have much else I can utilize. No. 3 turrets, 3 compulsories, 2 Accurate Virus, mostly get rid of spells in their hand, especially against Rune matchup. Evenly matched so I can banish stuff that they have. Eagle Mine, Grave Paper, Trample. Mostly so I negate some stuff. It is a temporary card while I don't have a third welcome pretty much mostly. And I also missing one more trap type. The trap mostly being Terrors of the Overroot, mind you, and I'm mostly leaning more heavily. I'm also missing a couple UR generic things in detail to milk for this deck. So for the most part, this is more generic action stuff. Delicate Punishment, just so we send double destroying stuff. Welcome Labrynth. I have 1 the time to recording most of this stuff for most of my decks. Next up, anti-spell fragrance. So I have a runic match, and I'm not running much spells. You essentially just want to go into Labrynth either way. Everything else is like whatever. 1 rock, so I can actually target one mouse opponent has destroy it when sent to the grave. Fossil, destroy spell traps. Mostly this is zones, but like whatever most of the time. When Pegasus, when sent, I can bash our grave, target 1 card opponent controls. Shuffle it back in deck. Nothing else matters pretty much for the most part. I just mostly load as much cards at ER generic or pretty much actually budget options for the most part. Let's get straight into match. First deck is in Sky Striker, which is nothing unusual to explain. There's nothing else to explain it totally. I feel like since most of the stuff is what we usually expect in it. I mean, once you see one Sky Striker deck, you've pretty much seen them all. It's mostly the same build. Nothing unusual, nothing that is generic. Most of like at least most of these are just my Traptrix deck, since I was breaking that match. Sadly, I had no out, so I decided to go start with Anti-Spell. Go Fusion Destiny. Opponent had out for it. I was like, whatever at that point. Like my thought process after this match was I should have waited until next turn to activate it. It gave up an anti-spell surprisingly, but I should have actually held off on the Ash on it until next turn pretty much. So that I do not have to deal with... Like, I already had, as you can tell, Grave Paper in my hand, so I should have waited. I noticed the outdoors and I could have done something about it. I wish I thought about it further, but I was just a mistake because of my frustration that day. The next match is the Chalice deck utilizing the agents of creation just to spam up most of their links so they can actually get the materials they need for most of the deck. Running in lifetime most of the stuff you usually expect from the structure deck and the whole thing. The whole solo mode mostly. Nothing unusual, just the only thing that's different is that they put in like Nargissy, Nightmare Unicorn, Mech Knight, Apollo, and Access Code. The only stuff that isn't from the structure deck was some other stuff that they can utilize that can make it better, like Unexpected, Royal Legacy, Emergency Teleports, and some of the other stuff they had. So far, my hand opening was alright. I decided to try back this and that Ash, and then I will just go into my other stuff. Go into Traptrix, go into Fusion of Destiny. Since I didn't see a reaction in the time recording this, have channel and that. I decided to negate it since it's more annoying on long term. Chalice, I decided to destroy both the risks called by the Great, I figured. Go into Fusion. Destroy both the insults, assuming it's called by the grave. My point would negate it either way, so I decided to do that. Special summon out. Go to Mantis. Return it back to my hand, set it back. Since none of the monsters would have been powerful enough, I decided to go into Reflex now. So now I have access to my whole trap arsenal. My point is to get up here, pretty much, for the most part. The next match is against Heroes, but I pretty much just mostly, it's just a long match of doing nothing for the most part. Overall, there's nothing unusual about the deck. The only stuff is they're running like multiple, a lot more stuff I feel like, but they're also running a lot the generic stuff they have, or possibly running, I don't understand. Overall, some other outs, some stuff, and most of this stuff is mostly like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with this, possibly sometimes 6. Technically 5. With just these 3. Outside that, it's nothing unusual. Outside that, mostly heroes option slides are just technical stuff if they don't need to go into them. If they'll have the specific cards needed. Next up, there's nothing. This will be the last match for Traptrix. Join Traptrix made this, bait out an Ash, if possible, Imperm, whatever. Go into Traptrix 3. Go into Parallel. Toss them out, one out. Go into Verte. Same Fusion Icy Grave. I'm just gonna be honest, this is a long match set those two. The only thing I wish I had opening wise in my hand was, instead of trap full of spikes, I had anti-spell. They're trying a hero card, I decided not to allow them. I should have gotten rid of that personally first. Since I could have gone in and I could have stopped the whole combo right there and there. With the first dance. As you'll see shortly. The only different... I said that. I don't think outside that, I'm pretty sure that's what happened though, but E-Hero would have happened. They still had their normal card in hand. So for example, they could have brought Shadow Sail again. So I go in Torrent. The only thing else I should have done, it was should have got rid of Break Off for Triple instead for something else. I feel like I should have set in for a Chain Hole instead, and I could have had a couple of outs and stuff. Decided to link into Disney. I should have held off. Should have actually remembered that they have that out, and I could have said it. Looking for me was just a brick, but it would have helped. I get rid of that since that's the most powerful out. To be honest, I was learning construction cards that day, and I was frustrated as heck that day. As we see here, I should have set the Ash at least, since it would have been bricked. Okay, hit trap was like whatever at that point. This is what I mean. I should have set Ash a little while ago. Basically, everything else was set here for disaster for me at this point. So there's no need to watch any further. Next match is against Weather Painters, which are mostly did most of the generic stuff with anti-spell being backup, mostly in the form of the runic matchup. Mostly, there's nothing else strange about it that isn't tucked in. Overall, it coincides with Cosmic Cyclones, but personally, I feel like Twin Treasures might be better. Mostly so you can send some cards to grave. Since you're mostly gonna plus a lot of cards from this whole stuff, so that's just me. Overall, my hand was alright, but when anti-spell is not enough for a lot of stuff. Sorry about that, was 6 those timestamps. Overall, bricked. Reality. I signed Arena. Arena lures me out of Labrynth. Set it. Since I don't need one more anti-spell than one, I should have set Regeki now I think about it, but it wouldn't have mattered. Anti-spell. Mostly so I can negate most of the shenanigans at the start. So I'm gonna call Buster Device again. Attack directly since I know it's web pennies, which is a lot to mostly work with. Decided I need more of my Labrynth cards. Personally, I could have stopped at any point. But I just didn't feel like I'm gonna start. Since it's starting to proc for some reason, I decided I might as well. Decided to activate Regeki here. Mostly bait it out. Decided the bait was worth it since it got me game there, as you can tell. Last and final match is essentially Amorphage. Amorphage with the Odd Eyes cards, a couple of them, mostly being Revolution, Odd Eyes Phantoms. That's nothing else I can go off of the whole deck, since I never faced them much before. The only thing I know is that people can activate involves Pendulum cards, and I do not like Pendulums in the first place. Wait. It's mostly Amorphage cards alongside some regulars, but it's mostly just a Amorphage with a Pendulum theme. Besides that, the only thing I see missing is mostly Master Pendulum. Mostly. But that's mostly about it. Overall, my hand is at least alright. Enough where I can at least set some cards. So I set the other one. Set Welcome Labrynth. Set 2. Pass. Win a battle for some reason, I was like, am I doing what they really match? I may even punish. Saturate. They didn't realize that it would just proc nothing. Ability here. I would I decided I had a welcome at that point. I guess my opponent had bricked is all. For context of why I was kind of mad that day for this vid, like I literally, unless you follow me on Twitter, I literally got Harry's Feathers 99 times in a row, just trying to do most of my daily, just trying to finish this whole instruction thing the whole day. It was ridiculous enough. I thought I was going to be D-rank, that would have been at least alright with it, but apparently not. Since I had enough where I can actually utilize it. Besides that, I hope today is actually been productive at least, but another thing I hate, probably about this whole year, is I'm not really feeling well that certain amount of times at this point. It's ridiculous to me.